General, from enabling missions such as Absolute Resolve and Operation Midnight Hammer to supporting ongoing operations today, the Space Force has become really the central delivering global has become central to delivering global awareness and decision advantage. Admiral Cooper said that our space superiority has been a critical enabler to Operation Epic Fury. How did space-based capabilities contribute to those operations, and what role Combat Forces Command playing?
Representative Crank, thanks. Great to talk to you the other day.
You bet.
Appreciate the conversation. Combat Forces Command, which is in the city of Colorado Springs there at Peterson Space Force Base, sir, they generate forces for our service components. And so they're the ones that make sure that the forces are either they're gone through what we call a Space Force generation process. So that means that they are ready, that they've been trained, and then they're committed to whatever combatant command that they're doing that operation. A majority of those forces are committed to U.S. Space Command, but some of those forces are presented in this case to U.S. Central Command. And then we have service components that execute those operations. So Combat Forces Command is critical to how we do operations to our combatant commands. Specifically in asking, what we have done incredible what we call missile warning capability. The folks that are there in the Colorado do an incredible job of making sure that they know that a missile's been launched, where it is going, and then be able to warn the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and to make sure that they're safe. They've also provided satellite communications from folks there at Schriever doing communications, and then serve some electromagnetic warfare, and we could probably talk a little bit more about this in the closed session.
Great, thank you. When we spoke last week, we talked about the infrastructure needs of the Space Force to continue the fight against Iran and the successful logistics chains that the Space Force has established to meet those needs. How's Space Force leveraging forward supply chains to sustain flight?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. We have a great partnership with the Defense Logistics Agency, and we are working through how we get parts to those folks that are downrange doing the mission. And anytime that we're in a situation like this, there's a prioritization by the combatant commander doing that. So in this case, Admiral Cooper. And then we work through from a Space Force perspective of how we get the prioritization up for the capabilities. And as I think three of us now have mentioned Admiral Cooper's quote, you can see that that's a high priority to get that. But we are putting parts forward in other locations and then using them to get to the folks that need them. We're continuing to learn on that as we grow out our logistics capability in the United States Space Force. But the team has done a really good job making sure that the forces forward have exactly what they need to be able to get the mission done.
And we've, despite the continued investments in data platforms across the department, we're still seeing challenges in sharing operational data across services and combatant commands. The Department of the Air Force's unified data libraries demonstrated success in aggregating and operationalizing space domain awareness data at scale. How has the Space Force utilized the UDL, and what benefits have you seen as it's come online?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. The UDL is a great technology that we can put information, specifically space domain awareness information at different classification levels, and then it allows, if you are cleared to that classification level, to go in there and get that information. It's allowed us to put it to the lowest level to be able to get the information all the way up to the highest levels as well. It also because of the different classification allows us to work with our mission partners and also our allies and partners to be able to provide that information. So it's doing great. We need to continue to work on that as we continue to bring on more sensors for space domain awareness, but it is working really well.
And Mr. Adkins, I was encouraged to read in your testimony that you said, quote, "The NRO continues to greatly benefit from commercial space sector advances in products, processes, and services." Unquote, including electro-optical data. This is especially helpful considering the NRO's efforts to cut commercial imagery funding last cycle with little regard for the downstream effects. Imagine how much more difficult planning for Epic Fury, Midnight Hammer, or Absolute Resolve would have been without ready access to imagery of what's happening in those contested environments. And it's also vital to maintain in-space sensing capabilities as on-orbit warfare continues to advance and is becoming a foundational element of modern warfare. I hope that your testimony can be construed as support for robust funding of the commercial imagery budget, and look forward to working with you to get that funding across the line.
Great. Thank you, sir. Commercial data is critical to the NRO mission, electro-optical and radar. For the GEOINT mission, we also collect RF, commercial RF data, or purchase commercial RF data to support the NSA, and it's absolutely critical to extend the coverage of our missions. I think the challenge is trying to right-size the demand and the requirement for data across the entire enterprise, and the demand signal coming from the functional managers and the combatant commands to make sure they get the products that they need. So we're working with NGA on GEOINT and NSA on the RF to make sure that we have the right amount to right-size that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.